Hey guys, how are you? I am coming to you today a little embarrassed. So this video is going to be in kind of two parts. The first part I'm redoing because when I first did this video, I actually turned the camera on and forgot to hit record. Wow. I think it's because it's been a while since I've done a video. I don't know about you, but this winter has been so awful with sickness. I think between the kids and my husband and I, we have had every version of flu out there, and it's really hit us hard. So I'm getting my my mojo back, and so I want to dive right in. Today I want to talk to you about 23, yes, very odd number, 23 low to moderate light indoor houseplants. Which are really great for those people with not a lot of windows, or you need some plants for your office that either you don't have a bright window or you're just dealing with overhead artificial light. Let's dig right in. The first one I have is, and if you've seen some of my videos before, you might imagine and might know that I can butcher plant names like no one's business. So I just wanted to let you know that up front, but we'll do our best and plow through. The first one is Bromelaid guzmania. This one grows in more of a stalk shape, and it has lots of bright colors coming off. There's green foliage down below, but what sticks up through the middle has lots of beautiful colors, orange, reds, yellows, that kind of thing. Now, when you're first looking at that, you think there's no way that this is a low light plant, because it's going to need a lot of light to be able to keep those beautiful colors happy. But actually, in this case, it can't take bright light. It needs a low light situation, and they absolutely cannot take direct sunlight. So that's a really good one, really pretty, and something beautiful that you can stick to really stick in a corner or in a bathroom or somewhere that will really make it very vibrant. Another one that I have is ivy. Ivy, English ivy, Algerian ivy. They do well in low to moderate light, and they should dry out in their pots before you water them again. So they don't want to sit in soggy soil. They want to dry out and then water them, and they do their best that way. They're also good because, as you know, anything about ivy, they are trailers and spillers, and so they do really, really well in hanging baskets. So that's a really nice one too. This gorgeous creature right here is a ZZ plant. They're very common in your garden centers. This one, particular type, is Raven. And so you can see the really dark foliage here, really beautiful. And the new shoots come out as this really beautiful chartreusey green, but you can see the tips. I think you can see that. The tips are starting to darken, and so it makes it a really beautiful, interesting plant with the two different colors from the different shoots that are coming out. This one is native to East Africa and Tanzania. It thrives in extreme conditions of dryness and low light. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think of Africa and Tanzania, I don't think of low light, but this is where they prefer to be, and especially the dryness. So they don't want to be really soppy and wet. That's a really, really good one. The next one is a ponytail palm. Now, I've seen these before, and they're quite funny to me because they grow on a trunk, and then there's like this poof of hair out the top. So like a ponytail, or like when my daughter was little, she didn't have enough hair for a full-on ponytail. And so I would just do like this little, they called it what did they call it? A palm tree, I guess. My mother, she called it her palm tree. But anyway, it kind of reminds me of those ponytails for little girls. They're actually a succulent, and they're part of the agave family of plants, and they're happy in low to bright indirect light. So it can be next to a window, but not where it's going to get some full-on sun, because they will not be happy with that. The next one that I do have, but I don't have it here at home to show you, is a snake plant. I have it at my office. It handles dry spells. And when I say dry spells, I really mean it. 2 years ago, I went out on maternity leave with my son, and I forgot to ask a coworker of mine to splash some water on it. I was out for 12 weeks, and the poor thing didn't get a drop of water in 12 weeks, and it was perfectly fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't wilty or anything. It was standing up straight and strong and looking great. So I'm like, wow, I don't ever have to worry about this plant. So if it can withstand 12 weeks of no water, I think we're in good shape. The next one I have is a peperomia. They're all different colors, all different designs on their leaves. I'm not sure that this one flowers, but the leaves itself are the beautiful part of this plant, and it's gorgeous. The next one I have is a staghorn fern. Now this one is really interesting. Basically, it's one of the type of plants that doesn't require soil around its roots, because they actually grow in like little crevices or holes in tall trees. I've seen where people have actually put them into wall hangings and hung them up, and not in soil. They just kind of, put them in a wall hanging, and they do beautifully. They do require moisture around its roots, but no soil. So, if you have it hanging in a bathroom, let's say, which is, more than likely one of the most moist places in your home, it's really a great location to hang it in, so that it can get the moisture that it needs. If you're hanging it anywhere else in your home, you can always mist it, spray it with water so that it gets the moisture that it needs. The next one is a parlor palm. It can adapt to low light conditions or thrive near windows with morning light or at the end of the day sun. This one is really good for beginners because you just put it by a window or away from a window. You give it some water weekly, maybe if it's dry, and that's it. So it's just super easy, low maintenance, not a lot to be done with this. Pothos is another one that's really good for beginners that don't have experience with houseplants. It's a low light lover and also should dry out between waterings. So here's one that I have. It's called a marble queen. They're super easy to deal with, and this one's starting to trail. So these are also very good in hanging planters. Now this is another one. It's another variety, but it's still a pothos. This one is not variegated. It has, just the one color leaf. The newer leaves come out more of a chartreuse, but you can see how great this one's doing. And I should probably find a hanging pot for it, because look at it. I've actually had it on my kitchen island, and it's pretty far away from a window. The only real light it's getting is from overhead. Again, it's used to artificial light. But look how healthy it is and how well it's doing. It's just doing really, really great. And it wasn't this leggy when I had it in the office. Next one, and the last one for this part of the video that I want to talk about, is the maidenhair fern. There's lots of ferns out there. There's the button fern, the autumn fern, rabbit's foot. But the maidenhair fern, they're good for low light. Soil needs to be consistently moist. So unlike some of these others that I've talked about, where you can let them dry out before your next watering, ferns really need a moist environment. Ferns, they like a cool shade area in the landscape, which means that the soil doesn't get the full bright sun to dry it out, so it tends to be more moist. So when you have a fern inside, it's the same thing. It needs to be in a very moist soil. So you want to check the soil, if not daily, it should be every other day, just to make sure that it doesn't dry out, because if it does, it will let you know very quickly. They're a little more fussy that way with water. So anyway, I am going to take you back to the other day. So this is future Amy. And I'm going to take you back to when I was in my other office, and I will let you know the rest of these beautiful plants, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. A yucca cane. All right, so this is one that is a bit bigger. It's more like a trunk. It's kind of grown on a cane, and then it has all the leaves coming out the top, kind of like, you know, a kid with spiked hair. So that's kind of what it looks like. It tolerates low indoor light, but it will grow faster in the direct light. It grows on a big stalk. It's drought tolerant. It only needs watering when the top half of its container is dry. So a lot of times, to check to see if a plant is dry, you stick your finger in the soil, and if it's dry to about 2 inches, then you want to water it. That's typically the rule of thumb. With a yucca cane, you need to you need a really long finger, or you just check to make sure that the top half of all the soil that it's in is dry. When that's dry, then you want to water it. Again, don't drown it, but you want to just moisten the soil, make sure that it has enough to drink, but then you want to just then leave it alone. You don't water it. So you're probably not looking at watering it every week like some of the others. The next one, to be honest, I have a hard time with this name. A common name is a nerve plant. And when you see the picture, you kind of get the idea of why it's called a nerve plant. They get their name from their colorful veins in their leaves. They need indirect filtered light or shade with high humidity. In the winter, we don't have high humidity in our homes, so you can always mist these plants. The next one is a philodendron, medium to low light houseplant. Keep dry between waterings. So again, each week it may be dry enough for you to put some water into the soil. If it's still moist to the touch or like an inch down, just hold off. This one will also trail out as well, have some vines to it that will come out. And it's also good in a hanging planter as well. The next one I have is a calathea. It needs consistent moisture. They will flower. They do have a bit of a flower, you know, nothing huge, but they will come out with a flower if it's in brighter light. And I'm not exactly sure when they flower, like what time of year, if it's in the spring or the fall. I'm not sure. I couldn't find that information. The next one I always see in the garden center, and I know it's not plastic, but these leaves look like plastic leaves. And I did have this name down. Anthurium. They can bloom in red, white, or pink, and rebloom in medium to low light. So basically you don't need super bright light in order for them to bloom. This one also needs to keep the soil consistently moist. So a weekly schedule I think would be just fine for these. The next one I've never grown, but I love, is the Rex begonia. They're grown for their colorful foliage, medium to low light, and they like to get dried out in their pots before you water it again. So again, just watch how much moisture you're putting in those pots. But they are absolutely gorgeous. I've seen them in all different types of flower arrangements as a plant, or just, their leaves cut and put into flower arrangements, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So I'm anxious to try that one as well. And another one I'm sure you've seen all over the place is bamboo. In this case, in this particular one, this is lucky bamboo. It's often seen growing just in water, and a lot of people put them with betta fish. You can put them in soil, but it is not necessary. If you keep them just in water, dump the water out and put fresh water in once a week. So that could follow with whatever your watering schedule is for your other plants as well. The next one is a Tradescantia zebrina. It's a great in a hanging basket. I do have a Tradescantia. It is not in wonderful shape, only because only the top part of the plant was getting any sun. So I'm going to put it actually very soon, within the next week. I'm going to change it out and put it in a hanging basket, and actually put it in here in front of this window, because then all of these little sections where there should be leaves will get the sunshine that it needs. I'm going to put it in a hanging basket so that all of these healthy leaves will look like that from here all the way down. All right, the next one is a peace lily. You just need to keep their soil consistently moist. One place said that it will bloom in the spring, and then I read in another place where it will bloom basically anytime during the year, whenever it wants. So I'm unclear as to exactly when it blooms. I have one that I bought from the garden center that was in bloom now, but they have kind of a different little ecosystem than I have, that it can be set up, because I don't have a greenhouse, and so they can kind of force things on and force things to bloom that I can't, because I don't have that type of situation. But it does need some sort of light, and so it really, you see it kind of leaning towards the light bulb, and then I turn it so that it kind of straightens itself out until it leans back the other way. But so it does need an indirect light source, but nothing like what you would get in a window itself. Spider plant. I don't know about you, but my grandmothers always had spider plants. I think my mom might have had one. It can be in a regular pot or a hanging pot. There's different colors. There's variegated, unvariegated. It just depends on what you like and what's available to you. They just need well-draining soil, indirect light, perfect for hanging baskets. Arrowhead plant. Now, this one I've had personal experience with. My now husband and I were dating. I got him this beautiful plant arrangement. It had a few different types of just green leafy plants, and one of them was an arrowhead plant, and that plant survived. All the rest of them seemed to die off, but the arrowhead plant survived up until last spring. It was really struggling. I tried my best for it, but it just ended up dying. And so it lasted a good 9 years, 10 years. It lasted 10 years. And so it really did, it really did well. And I didn't have to do much to it. Once a week or once every other week, I would put in some water-soluble plant fertilizer. But otherwise, it's a really good plant, I think, for beginners as well. A lot of these are, because most of them aren't too fussy and they don't need a lot of attention. The next one, also, no judgments here, bird's nest fern. When I bought it, it was absolutely gorgeous, and it was a lot smaller than it is now, which means I probably need to repot it at some point this year. But it started to get crusty leaves. I'll show you. So this is my bird's nest plant, and I'll try and kind of show you. The inside in here is where the new fronds come from. These are called fronds, not leaves. And, you know, there's several that are coming up through the middle. And so you have to be very careful when you water this. You want to water from the outside, not from in the middle, because in the middle where the new fronds are coming out, the water will settle in there and it will rot your plant. I don't know. I keep messing with it. I keep messing with the amount of water I give it. I keep messing with where it's located as compared to, you know, to a window. I did have it on a stand next to two windows that kind of come together at a corner. And it seemed to do really well there until it didn't. And I don't know what the difference is. So I've been moving it around to see where it's the happiest, because, you know, you don't want this gorgeous plant, you know, colored with all this brown crispiness. You know, it looks very, very sad. Oh, the last one I have is the Monstera plant, or a Swiss cheese plant. You can see where it gets its name, a Swiss cheese plant. And it seems to be, you know, kind of trying to vine out a little bit, which is interesting. This is a type of Monstera plant. I have another one in my dining room in front of the window, and it gets north-facing light. And it is huge. Huge. It doesn't have the Swiss cheese. It's more of like really open holes on it is all I can really say. So it's just a different type of Monstera plant, but it's still just as beautiful. It's not variegated. It's all just a really beautiful green. So that is the end. That is all 20. How many did I say are here? 23 low light indoor plants. If you have some advice for me on some of these plants that aren't doing so hot, please put them in the comments below. I'm happy, you know, I'm here for some education too. So I'm happy to give it all a try and see if it helps. So I hope you're having a really great day, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.